Okay, so to start off this problem, you want to underline what is important. So it says the length L is 5 more than the width. The dimensions, the area is 36. So we know that the area of a rectangle is length times width. So to start off, we want to draw a rectangle and label what we know. So we know that the length is 5 more than the width, so that would be W plus 5, and then this would just be the width. We know that the area is 36 centimeters, so we will write 36 equals W plus 5 times the width. We will distribute the W, so you have 36 equals W squared plus 5W. Then to solve, we need to get the equation equal to 0, so W squared plus 5W minus 36 equals 0. We will find a number pair that multiplies to negative 36 and adds to 5. So we have W plus 9 and W minus 4. We end up with W equals negative 9 and 4. Since it cannot be negative, negative 9 does not work, so we have 4 as the width. Then we need to plug it back in to our length equation. So L equals our width, which is 4, plus 5. So we get a length of 9 centimeters. So we know that the product of two consecutive positive integers is 11. So we need to make names for our integers. So our first integer will be x, and our second integer will be x plus 1 since they are consecutive. It says the product of the two is 11 more than their sum. So we will do their product. So x times x plus 1 is equals then their sum. So x plus 1 plus 11. When we simplify that, we get x squared plus x equals 2x plus 12. We want to set this equal to 0 to solve, and we get x squared minus x minus 12 equals 0. We need to find a number pair that multiplies to negative 12 and adds to negative 1. We get x minus 4 and x plus 3. This gives us the number pairs of x equals 4 and negative 3. But in the problem it says they have to be positive, so negative 3 will not work. So we get 4, and then for our first integer, and then to solve for our second integer, we have to do x plus 1. So we have 4 plus 1. Our second integer is 5. So we have one number is 7 times another number. Our first number will be x is equals 7 times another number, which we will call y. We know that the product of the two numbers is 252, so x times y equals 252. We will sub in x equals 7y for x right there. So we have 7y times y equals 252. That brings us to 7y squared equals 252. We divide by 7, we get y squared equals 36. Then we'll take the square root, and we'll get y equals 6. Then we have to plug it in to our first equation to solve for x. So then we had 4x equals 7y. So x equals 7 times 6, so we get x equals 42. So our two numbers are 42 and 6. For these next problems, we are only writing the equations and not solving. So we need the height of this equation, so we need to know when it hits the ground, so the height would be 0. We're solving for t, so we will use this equation up here, so we will plug in negative 16 t squared plus, we know it has a velocity of 12 feet per second, so we will do 12t plus the starting height, which is the player's height, which is 5.5. And that is your equation. Again, we'll be using the projectile motion model equation. So we know that the height, we need to find when it returns to sea level, so the height will be 0 equals negative 16 we need to know when it does, so we're solving for t, so t squared plus, we know it has a velocity of 100 meters per second, so 100 t, and it had a starting height of sea level, which is 0. Again, we'll be using the equation h equals negative 16t squared plus vt plus s. So, the height, we are trying to see if the ledge is located 48 feet above the ocean. So how long will it take the diver to enter the water? So we're solving for a height of 0 equals negative 16. We're solving for t, so t squared plus a velocity of 8t and the starting height of 48. We are then going to take out a GCF of negative 8, and you get 2t squared minus t minus. Then we will factor that, and we'll get negative 8 t plus 3 and 2, or t minus 2. Once we solve for t, we get t equals negative 3 over 2 and 2. Time cannot be negative, so we get our answer of 2 seconds. We will use the projectile motion model once again and plug in our final height equals negative 16t squared plus our velocity 50t plus our starting height of 4. We then will set the equation equal to 0 and factor out a GCF of negative 2. So you get negative 2 times 8t squared minus 25t plus 3 equals 0. We'll then factor and solve. So we will factor by split middle term. So what multiplies to 24 and adds to negative 25. We then get 8t squared minus 24t minus t plus 3. We group our terms and factor by taking out a GCF. We end up with the same in the parentheses, so we know we did it correctly, and we get 8t minus 1 and t minus 3. But don't forget to bring down the negative 2. When we solve for t, we get t equals 3 and t equals 1 over 8. The more logical answer is t equals 3 seconds.